Hi, this is Debbie with Cakes to Celebrate, and today we're going to be making sugar cookie dough. With Valentine's Day coming up, I thought it'd be really fun to make some beautiful and delicious heart-shaped cookies. So today I'm going to take you through making the sugar cookie dough, mixing it, rolling it out, cutting the shapes, and baking them. We're going to get started. Here are all my ingredients to make the best sugar cookie dough you've ever had. It is just delicious and it's really easy to work with, which is why I picked it for today's recipe. What I like about it is it holds its shape very nicely after it's cut and baked, and it's really easy to work with. So we're going to start with 1 cup of butter, which is actually 2 sticks. Uh-oh. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in our mixer. Probably put it over here. And then our next ingredient is going to be 1 cup of sugar. This is a super easy recipe, real easy to remember, and it's real easy to work with. And from there, I'm going to mix the butter and sugar together, which is called creaming. So this is the paddle attachment that we're going to be mixing our dough with. It's nice and sturdy, and since our dough is going to be rather heavy and thick, we don't want anything that's too delicate. This is nice and sturdy. So I'll go ahead and attach it to my mixer. Lower it. And I'm going to be creaming my butter and sugar right now. So our next ingredient is 1 large egg, room temperature. Our next ingredient is 1.5 teaspoons of good quality vanilla. And then we also have 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. And then just 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And now we're ready to go ahead and mix these before we add our flour. Our next ingredient is going to be 3 cups of flour. And you'd want to add these in intervals. I would say about 1/3 at a time. Otherwise you'll have a cloud of flour, and that's not a good thing. So we'll do a very small amount, just 1/3. And we want to mix on low to begin with. I keep an eye on it, and once I see that the flour is kind of incorporated, I start turning it up a little bit higher. Okay, we're ready for about another 1/3. And this is our final 1/3 of flour. So now our dough is fully mixed. So in this segment, what we're going to be going over is rolling out our dough. But first I want to show you the tools I'm going to be using. To make our delicious Valentine heart cookies, I have a variety of cookie cutters. I have copper cookie cutters, as well as just a variety of stainless steel heart-shaped cookie cutters. And it's nice to have a variety because it does make the cookies more interesting when you see them decorated all together. And then we also have 2 sizes of offset spatulas, a large and a small, and these are used to scrape the cookie off the sheet after it's cut and place it on our cookie sheet. Next we have a weighted rolling pin. I also have some parchment paper with, these are sticks. I don't know what they're called. And these are my aluminum spacers. They are 1/4 of an inch thick, and this will aid in the rolling to get consistency of the thickness of dough. If you're interested in purchasing these, go ahead and click on the link below. So the next step is to gather our dough together in a ball, and we're going to start rolling. I have a little bit of flour here. It doesn't take much. What I like to do is when I roll my dough, I use another sheet of parchment paper over it, so I'm not adding more flour to the dough, which will dry it out. So I've gone ahead and collected my dough into a disc. I'm going to set it in the middle, kind of give it a little evenness as I flatten it, and then I'm going to go ahead and start rolling it. Just another small amount of dough on top. Smooth it out. Then I can put my parchment paper over my metal spacers. And I'm going to just slowly guide the dough with my rolling pin. Kind of get it started. It's a little bit slippery when you first start, but once it actually starts flattening, it will become a little bit better. So you want to make sure that your spacers are definitely narrow enough so that your rolling pin just glides right over the top of both of them. Super simple. So in this segment, we have our dough rolled out, and now it's time to cut it. So any of these shapes will work. We just need to get started here. So we'll start here, press down firmly, and we have our cookie shape. Sometimes they just have to be helped out a little bit to come off the to get the dough out of the cutter. So we'll cut a couple different shapes. Makes it interesting if you're making several cookies to give to someone. It just makes them really a pretty arrangement. And the nice thing about the way we rolled our dough is all the thicknesses are the same. So what that means is they're all going to bake the same. And that's really important. So we'll just keep on tightly placing these cutters on the dough here so that we don't have a lot of areas where we have wasted dough. So we want to make the most out of each piece here. And, you know, just kind of be mindful of where you're cutting your pieces. And the nice thing about this dough is you can roll it back up in a ball, put it on your surface, and roll it again. So we will be re-rolling, and that's why I use parchment paper instead of flour, because I am going to be using this dough several times. And the more flour you put with it, it will become dry. This way, the least amount of flour you can use, the better. And these are going to be really, really cute once they get decorated. So if you find that your dough is sticking and you're having difficulty with the cutters and transferring it from the cutters to your parchment paper, you can always just pop your rolled dough in the refrigerator. So that will harden it, and then you can go bring it back out with it nice and firm and go ahead and start cutting again. So anytime you're having difficulty with the dough, pop it in the refrigerator for just about 5 minutes, and that should give you the firmness that you're looking for in order to keep going. So now that our dough is rolled, stamped, our cookies are stamped, and we have them placed on our cookie sheet, we are actually ready to bake. And we were able to get about 24 to 26 cookies out of the recipe that I've shared with you. So our next step is to bake these in a preheated oven at 350 degrees for about 8 to 10 minutes, or until they start to lightly brown on the edges. So our cookies have come out of the oven, they're baked perfectly, nice and brown around the edges, and they're ready to be stored in an airtight container. And in our next episode, be sure to join us while we decorate these cookies for Valentine's Day. If you found this video useful, make sure you like it, subscribe, and ring the bell. And you're always welcome to make comments below and make any suggestions for future episodes that you'd like to learn.